A hero is that person whose intention is entirely on making their surrounding and the world a better place for all people. This would mean that every hero has an adventurous journey and an untold story to tell.
My name is Dr Manoj Shah, and I'm the Managing Director of the Kingsway Group of Companies, and I'm also the Chairman of the MP Shah Hospital and the Lions Sight First Eye Hospital. Just to share with the audience my journey, and it started from a very humble beginning when I was only 16 years old, and that's the time I was in my worst dilemma. As I finished my high school, my father started ailing and became sick, and 2 years later my father passed away, and at a very young tender age of 18, not knowing what I was getting into, I had no other option but to take over my father's small business and to make sure that I run it to sustain our large extended family. So as a youth, as a young man, to be very honest, I never had the benefit or enjoyed what other young people or youth do in their age between 18 and 30. And my life journey at a very young age of 18, when I took over my father's business, it was a very small business that my father had started a little earlier on from a prison cell that he had bought, and he turned it into a small tire shop. And for me, it was really a challenge. It was determination and sheer perception that I must make my father's business a success and look after my extended family. 10 years of my career in running my father's business, I had a lot of trials and tribulations, as it was the biggest learning curve in my life. The lessons that I learned at that very young age has today made me the man that I am. Managed to overcome that with the support of certain well-wishers within the family who came out to support me. When I started the company in 1978, at that point in time we only had 3 employees. Today, 46 years later, we have a strong workforce of over 4,000 employees employed upon all our group companies. I faced several hurdles during the journey, and in fact I can very vividly remember 10 years after I joined the business, I thought I was becoming successful. I had enough stock of tires that I had accumulated. I had a little bit of savings that I had accrued for my future development, but never did I know that a fire would engulf my storage facility and burn everything that I had worked for 10 years. And unfortunately, during those years in the early 80s, it was very difficult to start accumulating, and it was like building the business all over again, starting all over again. And that was my lowest point in life that I can remember, because at that time I thought that the whole world had crumbled upon me. The ground had opened and was ready to swallow me inside, and everything that I had worked for over 10 years was all gone overnight in smoke. And the other worry that I had is that what would happen to my extended family, because we are a big family that I had to look after.
Dr. Manoj Shah reveals to me where his motivations come from despite all the challenges, and how he applies this wisdom to press on.
So coming from a humble beginning, I've gone through the trials and tribulations of people not having anything, and working with my mother in the various homes that she was working in the slums, I saw on first hand the poverty, the needs of the people, and the sufferings that a lot of our Kenyans go through on a daily basis. And my mother was always there to make a difference to many in one and many ways. And this is something that struck my heart, and I said that whenever I became successful, the one thing that I want to do is to give back to the society. And 30 years ago, I decided, as my business stabilized, as everything was working well with me, my family was well settled, I decided that I really want to go out there and make a difference in the society. I decided to join the Lions Club's international platform, and this was a beautiful platform that gave me the opportunity to serve the needy and less fortunate members in one and many ways. One of the first projects that I went into, which was 30 years ago, was eyesight. And this was because when I went to Eldoret, in one of the villages where some doctors from overseas had come to check eyes of Kenyans, I found out that a lot of elderly people, especially in rural parts of our country, are suffering from preventable and reversible blindness. And what they really need is a simple thing like a cataract operation. And this gave me the vision and the insight to help build the Lions Sight First Eye Hospital, to help these poor people who cannot afford a simple thing like a cataract surgery. And that was the first initiative that I took in putting up this facility to help our Kenyans out there, especially in rural areas, in villages, to have their eyesight restored. And today, 20 years later, we have managed to serve 2 million Kenyans and have their sight restored. And through this fantastic platform, the story does not end there, because this platform also helped us to identify that what happens to our school-going children, especially in rural schools. And when I visited many of the schools in rural parts of Kenya, whilst helping them with library books, educational materials, I realized that we have a big problem in our Kenyan schools. And I saw that, number one, a lot of our schools were overwhelmed with students, because normally a class is supposed to have 20, 30 or 40 students, but because of the shortage of schools, many of our primary schools had students up to 60, 70, even 80, and the teacher was overwhelmed. And sometimes when children don't do well in class, what happens is that the children is sent to the back of the classroom because the teacher doesn't have time, she's dealing with so many children. When the child goes home, the parents don't know, because they are uneducated, why this child keeps on failing over and over and over again, and why does he not get good marks, and they don't know what the problem is. And the child, being a child 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, he himself can't understand what's wrong with him. But if a child cannot see the blackboard, if he cannot read the book, how do you expect him to perform in a classroom? So that inspired me to come up with a program to help these children and to go out to schools and do vision screening, train the teachers how to identify children with visual problems and see how we can help them. And I was surprised. A lot of children only needed a pair of eyeglasses to correct their eyesight, and they could see the world and they could become better students. And as we worked with the Lions Sight First Eye Hospital, we also started the first eye bank in East and Central Africa. And what I thought is that a lot of people think about a bank to make money and to put money. But I said that why don't I start an eye bank where we can have people donate their corneas, and those Kenyans whose corneas are damaged for one reason or the other, how could we transplant and create that facility? And these were all inspirations as we saw what was going wrong on the ground and what are the needs that people wanted. And this was the start of my journey with eyes, and I got very passionate about healthcare. And as I became the chairman of the MP Shah Hospital, which is again a non-for-profit organization, I made it a point that the hospital also must carry out meaningful CSR programs to help our Kenyans. And one of the most heart-touching programs that I came up with was helping newly born babies and very young children who suffer from congenital heart diseases. And the reason why I was inspired by this is because I used to help many of these babies and mothers who used to come to my office. I used to do a little bit of fundraising for them and send them to India to get the surgeries done. But as now I became the chairman of the MP Shah Hospital, of course I saw that this was a good opportunity. And in fact, one of the babies died right in front of my eyes in my own office. I had made arrangements for her to go to India. She was a young baby, only 14 months old. She had a severe congenital heart disease. There was no way she could take mother's feed. She had a lot of breathing difficulty and she was crying all the time and very restless. And more so, because of her congenital heart condition, she was also colic. And I'd made arrangements for the mother and the baby to travel. I'd bought their air tickets. I'd arranged with the doctor in India to do the surgery on the baby so that the baby could have a normal life. And on the very same Friday, I can still remember the day, we were waiting for the travel documents to be issued by the immigration department, which delayed, and the flight was taking off at night and the documents never came in time, and the baby really was suffering right in front of my eyes in my own office because we were waiting for the documents so they could go to the airport and take a flight out to India. And there her breathing stopped and she collapsed right in front of my eyes. And since then I said that if there is one thing that I want to do, because there are so many babies that suffer with congenital heart diseases, this is one thing that I want to do. And so far over the last 4 years, with the help of doctors from the United Kingdom, we have managed to save the lives of over 250 babies and young children.
As a family guy and a good father, he has held his daughter's hand and taught her how to be a human of value.
I'm Dr Shah and I work in the Kingsway group of companies in marketing and communication, and I am also a philanthropist and a youth leader in my own right. So in terms of my job, I work with operations of all the companies, especially with the tire segment, and we work with mentoring and upbringing a lot of the youths with mentorship and coaching training, along with ensuring that we get results from all our endeavors and we stick to our values. So that's part of my work, but other than that I do help out and volunteer in both the hospitals in MP Shah and Lions Eyesight First Eye Hospital. I work with the Lions Clubs International. I have my own Lions Youth Fraternity. I work with the United Nations. I work with the Special Olympics. I am also an International Youth Global Ambassador for Challenge Champions and Heroes, and I change nations. And that's why a few weeks ago they even awarded me with a doctorate in humanities and philanthropy at my age for a lot of the contribution and work I do. I also have a big passion for healthcare and started creating a whole program about diabetes and creating awareness alongside various other projects. So we realized that over the past few years there are people who are starting to talk about cancer and other diseases that are happening, but diabetes is a common disease that happens in more than 50% of the world's population, but it's not talked about or no one knows, and it's hard to be treated. And that's why we wanted to come and create awareness and help as many people as we can. And we also found out in the process that there are a lot of children who are diabetic who cannot afford insulin or any care, and that's why we got like-minded people with a young group of members between the age of 18 to 40 with doctors, nurses, or people from all different philanthropic groups. And we decided to build diabetes care centers and start working on screening programs and even diabetes education in schools and institutes, just to raise awareness. And we even started a program called Adopt a Child, where a student can can sponsor another diabetic student to help them through the journey of diabetes who cannot afford insulin for their life. And that's where the story of diabetes comes. And yeah, now we're also going to the United Nations and other affiliation groups to share voices to create awareness.
Due to Dr. Manoj's broad experience in service to humanity, he knows why exactly to get those that are in dire need of his help.
Coming from a large extended family, I've always thought it best that number one priority is to look after my own extended family and my immediate family, to make sure that they are in a comfortable position and all their needs are met. And then at the same time, how do we think about the welfare of others? So as the Kingsway Group of Companies, we decided 15 years ago to start the Kingsway Foundation, and all the shareholders and board members decided that through the Kingsway Foundation, let's go out and try and assist as many needy and unfortunate people as possible, because the needs out there are many. And our key focus areas of the Kingsway Foundation, our first priority is health, second priority is education, and third priority is how do we mentor the youth and work with the youth to make sure that they also can sustain themselves and build up their careers. And through the Kingsway Foundation, I'm also very, very proud. We have managed to put up 3 big schools in the Machakos area, a primary school, a nursery school, a big secondary school. And we have also undertaken a literacy program where we are planning to, we have already distributed 30,000 school books, and we are planning to distribute over 300,000 books to needy schools all over the country and create literacy libraries so that children can benefit. And one of the other innovations that our Kingsway Foundation has taken up is to look at a platform, an e-platform that we could develop locally, which would be affordable, accessible to many of our children, especially in rural areas, because e-learning is the thing for children. And if you can provide it to them at an early age, it will only help them as they progress in their careers.
The doctor reckons that mental health is an important issue in Kenya that needs to be addressed.
I've realized that a lot of young people, especially those who are coming to the working group, they really suffer from mental wellness because of uncertainty, because of lack of self-confidence, lack of guidance from somebody, and that creates mental issues with mental wellness in many of our young people today. And if there is a way we can get them to go into mentorship programs, if we can have a few other more people to advise them, guide them, that will really help them as far as mental wellness is concerned. One of the biggest factors of mental wellness is the job market in Kenya, and especially over the last 2 years because of COVID, this has really impacted upon a lot of people. A lot of people have lost their jobs. There are no new jobs that have been created in the market, and we have a lot of students that come out of universities, and we have a lot of people children or young people who come out in the professional field, but yet the market is unable to absorb them. And one of the things that I keep on advising, especially our young people, is that at your starting point, don't aim for the sky, because you will fall on the roof. Aim for the roof. Go for whatever you can get and make a beginning, because it is the beginning that will take you right up to the sky. And I always tell them that forget taking the lift. You cannot go into the lift and press the 24th floor and expect there to be in 1 minute. You have to learn to climb the stairs. And if you have the patience and determination to climb the stairs in your career, I can only assure you, you will be very successful.
With an aim to inspire more people, Dr. Manoj has blessed the world by writing a special book that shines more light upon the hero's journey.
This is a book, One in a Million, that I was inspired to write. It's my life journey of over 6 decades of what I have accomplished. And this book talks about my younger days of what I was. It talks about many of the hobbies that I had as a young gentleman, including I was a safari rally driver once upon a time. It also talks about my successful entrepreneurship into family, and the book is focused on my family values of how we have kept our big extended family together and how family values plays a very big important role in keeping families together and making family businesses successful. And of course, the book also talks about a lot of the philanthropic work that I've done over the last 4 decades. So this book is my life journey of what I've accomplished over the last 6 decades.
This is what Sayon has to say about her heroic father.
We have a very good relationship, and it's all due to also understanding, because the key of any kind of relationship is communication. But the challenge, that the good thing that we have is a generation understanding. So I can respect and understand and appreciate that he has a lot of experience and has grown a lot and done a lot during his years. But at the same time, I appreciate the fact that he's been by my side and groomed me, and to create my own identity, to actually understand what it is that I want to do and deserve in life and what it is for people. The one thing he'd always tell me is that share all your knowledge, share all your wisdom. By being quiet, you're going to die with it. But at the same time, Kate, I can be sitting here with you and I'll be learning something from you. So it's always good to be too open-minded and learn from one another, no matter how old or young you are. And then the relationship I have with my dad and why we've grown so much and being here is, again, it comes to learning generation gaps, because it's come to a point that even when he wants to make a change at this year's, he needs my input and my advice on how he can still doing things with current trends and how he can still developing with the changes, and at the same time vice versa. But I think the one thing that we both have in common is money will always come and go, but your true values and ethics is what's going to make you the difference, and it's going to give you the end result in whoever you are today. And I think with that common understanding is why we do have a great relationship to keep growing and supporting one another.
Dr. Manoj Shah is a happy soul, and this is what brings him joy and satisfaction.
I just want to share with all our viewers that to become successful is to just have a vision and really dream with your eyes open, and as long as you have the determination, you can make it out there.